What if the only thing standing between you and your dream life is the way you see yourself? Have you ever paused for a moment and asked, why does it feel so far away? Why does the life I want always seem like a future version of me will live it, but never the version I am now? That question might sound simple, but it holds the weight of everything you're searching for. If you really understand the answer, everything changes. And if you stay with this video till the end, you'll walk away not just inspired, but with a power that most people never tap into their entire life. You see, they wait for signs, they wait for proof. They wait until they feel ready. But the truth is, the world doesn't give power to the person who waits. It responds to the one who already believes. There is a psychology behind success that has nothing to do with luck, timing, or circumstances. It's something deep. Something internal. It starts with how you see yourself. Your brain is not just a machine processing your reality, it's a machine creating it. And the most powerful thing it creates is identity. When you act like you've already achieved it, your brain doesn't argue. It starts reprogramming everything, your thoughts, your focus, your behavior, to match that vision. It doesn't see a difference between something vividly imagined and something real. This isn't a trick. This is neuroscience. When you visualize yourself in possession of the success, the peace, the strength, the freedom you want, your brain fires off the same neural pathways as if it were actually happening. You're literally preparing yourself to become that version of you. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think imagining or visualizing success is wishful thinking. No, it's not about pretending. Practicing. It's about practicing. When a champion trains, they don't wait until the day of victory to feel victorious. They train with that energy every single day. Because emotion wires the brain. When you feel like a winner before you win, you're creating new neural patterns. You're building emotional muscle. You're becoming emotionally familiar with success. So when it finally arrives, it doesn't feel foreign. It feels like home. This isn't about arrogance or delusion. This is about alignment. It's about walking, talking, thinking, and moving with the certainty that you're already on the path, already becoming, already evolving. You don't need outside approval. You don't need the finish line to feel like you've started. You just need the decision. A decision that says, I am no longer living as the version of me who hopes. I am living as the version who already knows. Imagine waking up tomorrow and stepping into that energy. No more doubt, no more delay. Just focus, just belief. That's what acting as if really means. It's not fake confidence, it's real preparation. You're not lying to yourself, you're telling the truth in advance. And if you hold on till the end of this video, you'll learn how to lock in this mindset permanently, not just for motivation today, but for transformation that lasts. Because the moment you stop waiting for evidence and start becoming the evidence, your entire life begins to change. Most people have been trained to only believe what they can see. From the moment we're young, we're taught to wait for the grade before we feel smart, wait for applause before we feel talented, wait for the job before we feel successful. But that mindset quietly destroys potential, puts the power in the hands of the world around us instead of placing it where it truly belongs, within us. The truth is, if you wait to believe in yourself until you have proof, you will always be one step behind your own greatness. Confidence doesn't come after the result. Confidence is the fuel that creates the result. There's a reason why so many people feel stuck in the same place year after year. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're not capable. It's because they've tied their identity to their current circumstances instead of their future vision. They look at their life and say, I haven't done it yet. But that mindset traps them in a loop. And the more they wait for external validation, the more powerless they feel inside. Psychologically, this is how the brain protects itself. It avoids risk. It avoids disappointment. But in doing so, it also avoids growth. The mind prefers the comfort of the known, even if that known is filled with pain, doubt, or failure. That's why so many people feel exhausted, because deep down they know they were built for more, but their habits keep dragging them back into old identities. Think about this. Have you ever accomplished something big and then thought, why didn't I do this sooner? That's not random. That's proof that your ability was never the problem. It was your hesitation to believe. You already had what it takes, but belief is the door that unlocks access to that part of you. Without it, it stays buried beneath fear, perfectionism, and waiting for the right time. The brain needs certainty. But here's the twist. Certainty doesn't have to come from the outside. You can generate it. You can train your mind to feel certainty even when there's no proof yet. That's what acting as if does. It rewires your brain to see what's possible instead of what's missing. It teaches your nervous system to adapt to who you're becoming instead of who you've been. This is why people who succeed at high levels often seem fearless. It's not that they never had fear. It's that they didn't let fear dictate their identity. They chose to believe first. They chose to trust their vision over their environment. They didn't wait for results to feel worthy. They felt worthy and then chased results that matched that worth. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. The longer you wait to believe in your own power, the further your dreams drift. But when you flip the switch and choose belief without needing proof, everything accelerates. Opportunities appear. Energy rises. Clarity returns. Because your internal world starts leading your external one, you no longer chase motivation. You become it. Once you stop waiting for proof and start believing in your own power, something profound begins to shift. You stop identifying with your current limits and start identifying with your future strength. And that's where true transformation begins, not at the level of action, but at the level of identity. Because your identity is the thermostat of your life. It controls how high or low you allow yourself to rise. And the fastest way to raise that thermostat is to act as if you already are the person you want to become. When you walk, speak, and carry yourself like someone who's already achieved it, your brain starts adapting. It notices the difference between who you've been and how you're behaving now. And the brain hates inconsistency for alignment. So what does it do? It starts closing the gap. It rewires thought patterns, emotional responses, and even subconscious beliefs to match the version of you that you're acting like. That's not fantasy. That's neuroplasticity. It's how you change from the inside out. Most people try to change by forcing new habits on top of an old identity. They say, but they still see themselves as someone full of doubt. They say, I want to be disciplined, but deep down, they believe they're lazy. That conflict creates resistance. And over time, not because the goal is impossible, but because the identity underneath it never changed. But when you start acting as if you bypass the resistance, you begin telling your brain, this is who I am now. And your brain responds by filtering your focus, your energy, your motivation to support that belief. This isn't about pretending, it's about becoming. There's a massive difference. Pretending is hollow. Becoming is powerful. When you act like a leader, you begin to think like one. When you move like a winner, you start making choices that match. You don't need results to confirm it yet. Your identity leads the way. And once your identity shifts, your habits follow. Your confidence grows. Your environment begins to reflect your inner world. There's a psychological concept called cognitive dissonance. It happens when your actions don't match your beliefs. It creates internal discomfort. Here's the good news. You can use that to your advantage. When you act like someone who is focused, committed, and unshakably driven, your brain feels the dissonance if your old beliefs don't match. That discomfort becomes a catalyst. It forces your mind to choose to stay in the old self or rise into the new one. And when your actions are consistent, your brain eventually surrenders. It rewrites the narrative. It says, this must be who we are now. You can't build a new life with the same old identity. That's why success doesn't just take effort. It takes evolution. Acting as if is the bridge between your current self and your future self. It's not just about walking taller or speaking clearer. It's about becoming emotionally familiar with a new level of self-respect, self-trust, and personal power. And once that identity becomes your baseline, your results begin to catch up fast. Not because you forced them, but because you finally aligned with the version of yourself that was meant to lead. Your mind listens to more than just your thoughts. It watches how you move. It pays attention to your posture, your pace, your presence. Every single day, without you realizing, you are sending signals to yourself, non-verbal messages that either reinforce your strength or deepen your doubt. The way you show up physically speaks volumes to your brain. It tells you whether you are confident or insecure, whether you are ready or unsure, whether you are a leader or someone still waiting to be led. These signals become part of your identity. And the longer you send the same ones, the deeper they get carved into your sense of self. The way you breathe matters. The way you walk into a room. The way you look in the mirror. You carry yourself when no one is watching. It's all communication. Not with the outside world, but with your inner world. And that's where the real change begins. Because when your physical energy aligns with your mental goals, your whole system starts to shift. You stand taller and suddenly your words carry more weight. You breathe deeper and suddenly your mind becomes more focused. You slow down your movements, and suddenly your stress begins to fade. These are not small changes. They are silent declarations of power. Most people underestimate body language because they think it's only useful for how others perceive them. But the deeper truth is that your body language is how you perceive you. And every gesture, every movement is a cue. You slouch and your brain hears, I'm tired, I'm defeated. You drag your feet and it registers, I don't care. But when you walk with purpose, even if you don't have all the answers yet, your brain receives a different message. It hears, I'm in control. That's how transformation begins, by consistently sending the right cues until your brain starts to believe them. This is called self-conditioning. You're not waiting to feel powerful before you act powerful. You're using action to create the feeling. That's how champions think. That's how high performers build mental toughness. They don't hope for confidence. They create the conditions where confidence grows. They understand that motion creates emotion, that the nervous system responds to direction. And that direction comes from daily cues, intentional, consistent physical cues that say, I'm not waiting for change, I am the change. So if you want to become unstoppable, don't just change your habits, change your signals. Stand like someone who owns their destiny. Breathe like someone who trusts their journey. Walk like someone who knows where they're going. Even if the path isn't clear yet, these subtle choices are far more powerful than you think. Because before the world believes in you, before anyone else buys into your vision, you must become the loudest, clearest believer in your own story. And belief isn't just a thought, it's a presence. It's how you carry yourself through the quiet, the chaos, and the climb. And when your presence becomes aligned with your potential, you stop doubting and start becoming. Your mind may lead, but it is emotion that moves you. You don't take action because you think it's a good idea. You take action because something inside you feels urgent, necessary, real. That's why if you want to become the version of yourself who achieves greatness, you can't just change how you think. You have to learn to feel the emotions of success before success arrives. Because emotion is the fuel. It's the fire that turns your thoughts into decisions and your decisions into lasting change. Most people wait for their life to change before they feel differently. They wait to feel proud. They wait to feel joy. They wait for confidence to knock at the door like a guest. But confidence is not a guest. It's a decision. It's a state you can generate. The most successful people you see didn't start their journey already feeling certain. They felt uncertain, but they still created emotion on purpose. They learned how to feel powerful even in weakness, to feel grateful before the reward came, and to feel proud in the middle of the climb. That is the psychology of high performance. That is how average becomes unstoppable. Your brain doesn't know the difference between something vividly imagined and something real. When you visualize yourself achieving the goal, when you emotionally step into that reality in your mind, your nervous system lights up. You activate the same pathways you would if you were really living it. And when you do that consistently, your body begins to respond. You stand differently. You speak with clarity. You act with courage. All because you've conditioned yourself to feel the energy of achievement before it becomes visible. It's easy to underestimate this. It sounds simple. But this is what separates those who try from those who become. You must learn to sit in silence and feel the pride of becoming disciplined. To imagine your success so clearly that your body believes it's already true. To feel the calm confidence of knowing you're on your way, even on the days where nothing seems to be working. This is not fake motivation. This is strategic conditioning. It's emotional practice. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Emotion creates motion. When you feel alive, you move differently. When you feel powerful, you act faster. When you feel grateful, you show up with presence. These emotional states are not side effects. They are tools. And if you learn how to create them without needing the outside world to trigger them, you become free. Free from circumstances. Free from delay. Free from waiting. Don't underestimate what you're capable of when you control the way you feel, because when your emotions rise, your limitations shrink. The things that once scared you now look small. The doubts that once held you back now look ridiculous. And the version of you that once hesitated is gone, replaced by someone who knows that action is not about motivation. It's about mastering the emotion that fuels it. That is the mindset that builds champions. That is the energy that rewrites lives. And it's available to you right now, the moment you stop reacting and start generating. There comes a moment when you have to stop chasing and start becoming. A moment where you stop seeing your goals as something distant and instead decide that you are the kind of person who already lives in alignment with those goals. This isn't about pretending. This is about claiming. Claiming your future not as a wish, but as an identity. The strongest force in human behavior is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. So if you keep telling yourself you're still trying, still figuring it out, still unsure, your actions will follow that story. But if you decide that from this moment forward, you are someone who already owns the mindset, the discipline, the focus, the energy, the identity, everything begins to shift. You don't need permission to become powerful. You don't need a perfect plan to start showing up as the best version of yourself. All you need is a decision to stop identifying with the old you, the version of you that kept doubting, the version of you that waited for confidence to magically appear, the version that kept one foot in the past and one foot in the dream. That version doesn't belong in your future. It served its purpose, but its time is over. The future you're building demands a new standard, a new energy, a new presence. You become that person by living as if it's already done. That means you speak with clarity even when you don't have all the answers. You train your mind with discipline even when no one is watching. You show up with full energy even when life feels heavy. You don't wait for your environment to reflect success. You reflect it in your daily attitude, your small habits, your quiet decisions. That's where real transformation lies, not in big moments, but in small ones repeated with power. The world around you will try to remind you who you were, but your job is to keep reminding yourself who you're becoming. You will be tested. There will be days where the old identity feels easier. But don't let comfort steal your future. Don't let memories define your momentum. Identity is a choice, and when you choose to embody the future instead of replaying the past, you take control of your entire life. Your words change, your circle changes, your energy changes, and eventually your reality has no choice but to follow. You don't become successful by accident. You become successful by deciding who you are and backing it up with relentless consistency. You don't wait for the world to call you great. You live greatly and the world catches up. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. You need to live in such deep alignment that the results become undeniable. And when they do, it won't feel surprising. It will feel familiar because you've already been walking, breathing, and thinking like someone who was destined to get here. This is your power. Not to chase your future, but to live from it. Not a hope for change, but to embody change right now. Because the person who has everything you want is already inside you, waiting to be lived.